Coming from Elon Musk, this is huge, not just for Donald Trump, but indeed for Africans and indeed for Nigerians. Elections are rigged when voters fail to turn out for elections. The foundation for rigging is voter apathy. Now, this is true even in America, like you can see Elon Musk buttressing, calling on supporters of Donald Trump to come out to register to vote, and then to make sure they eventually come out to vote, because there are suspicions that some states are calculatively making moves to rig the elections. We in Africa, we in Nigeria particularly, before I come to whether you support Trump or you support Kamala Harris, in our own elections in Africa, in our own elections in Nigeria, elections are rigged based on poor voter turnout. And I won't talk about things that happen in Tunisia where you have all opposition candidates imprisoned and you have international independent observers banned from covering the elections. Now, that is on another level. But basically, elsewhere, particularly when you consider elections in a place like Rivers State, in their local government election that just concluded, October 5, what you find is that the foundation of rigging is voter apathy. So, what is the lesson for us in Africa? What is the lesson for us in Nigeria? As much as possible, let us begin to talk to one another. The Yoruba say, Kekunlegbo, Kosofuntoko. Let person tell person, one-on-one, spread the news. No matter how pointless these vampires make elections to look in Nigeria, no matter how they make it look like our votes don't count. In fact, we should realize that the more they make it look like our votes don't count, the more we must realize that our votes indeed count. Because the critical lesson for us is this: they make us feel and think and believe that our votes don't count so that we will not come out, so that there will be voter apathy. And once there is voter apathy, then they can carry out their rigging. Pre-elections, they engage in all manner of violent propaganda, trying to make it look like they have the monopoly of violence. It is strategic. They are working on the minds of voters. They know people are afraid to die. They know people don't want to die. So they weaponize that fear against them. So before elections, what do? They drive all kinds of propaganda, all kinds of narrative to make it look like, oh, some people have the monopoly of violent thugs that will disrupt elections, or that some people have the monopoly of taking over or compromising our security agencies like the police and co. And so because of that, the people become afraid to come out. We must learn from what Elon Musk is saying here on behalf of Donald Trump. We must learn. Voter apathy is the foundation upon which election rigging is built in Africa, in Nigeria. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, we must understand the ways that we have at our disposal that we can use to curb the excesses of the police, of INEC, of thugs, of even the judiciary. There are means within our disposal. But before we talk about that, I need to stress this important point. And that's the fact that elections are also rigged by international interference. Look at the American elections that is coming up now, less than 30 days or thereabout. They are already blaming or accusing Russia, they are accusing China of interference in their election. I'm talking about America now. When it is the turn of UK for elections, when it's the turn of Russia, when it's the turn of China, they also make such claim. So my question is, in Africa, in Nigeria, what makes you think that foreign powers do not interfere? They do. In the 2023 election, it is obvious now from reports that we get from independent investigative journalists like David Hundeyin. We see now that the possibility of US meddling in our elections in Nigeria is very, very high. If not, why or how would you explain the reluctance of US security agency to release damaging information about Tinubu and even going forward to support him after the sham election and the open rigging that we saw in 2023? So it is clear that foreign powers, they interfere in our elections. So the question we should ask is this: between the Democrats and the Republicans in America, which of them is more likely to interfere in the elections of Nigeria in 2027 in such a way and manner that they will perpetuate corruptly, not elected now, they will perpetuate or support leaders that rig themselves into power in Nigeria? Which of them, Democratic or Republican Party? The election in America is important to us. I know many Nigerians are wrongfully supporting the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party does not act. In fact, if you are looking for a party in America that will be better, that is the lesser evil for Africa, for Nigeria, it is the Republican Party. And in fact, the best candidate for that matter will be Donald Trump. Many people have so many narratives they are driving in Africa and Nigeria against Donald Trump, but they are all lies. All lies. One thing we Nigerians and Africans must realize is this: when Trump was president, you would realize, just cast your mind back, that there was relative peace in the world. Trump was always talking about draining the swamp, draining the influence of the military-industrial media complex in America, because this is the foundation of wars and chaos around the world. The war in Ukraine, the war in Israel, between Israel, in fact, 7-front war now. Israel and Hamas, Israel and Hezbollah, Israel and West Bank, Israel and Houthis, Israel and Iraq, Israel and Syria, Israel and Iran. That's 7-front war. Guess who's benefiting from it? The US military industrial media complex. They are happy. In fact, I have reasons, very strong and good reasons, to believe that they are playing both sides. And the Iranians, the Hezbollah, the Hamas, the Houthis, all of those people are just playing into their hands in the name of fighting for their own liberation. So rather than use the vast resources at their disposal to develop their own economies, they are using it to buy weapons. They buy weapons. All the weapons they are using in Hamas. You think, how many of them, even the ones that Iran is manufacturing, they still buy a lot of the components from China, from Russia. So wherever or however you look at these wars, the US military industrial media complex benefits from it. They are happy. People are being killed. Children are dying. Women are dying. But this US military industrial media complex, they keep benefiting from it. Somebody said something once. He said, when wars go on, when you want to stop the wars, look at those who benefit from the wars. When you identify the people who benefit from the wars and you tackle them, the war will end on its own. They keep telling you, oh, we have sent aid, we have sent so billion. In fact, right now, even all the NGOs, the donor agencies in Nigeria, in Africa, are complaining that they are no longer getting funding from America. Why? Because America has diverted all of these fundings to Ukraine, to Israel, to support war. And these fundings that they give to Ukraine, do they actually leave America? They don't. The money actually goes to the US media, military, industrial complex. And they don't care that innocent lives are lost, that the destruction alone. Look at the destruction in Ukraine. Look at the destruction in Gaza, the destruction in Lebanon, the destruction in Syria, the destruction alone for people who have a heart is enough to say, oh, we don't have to make money by the bloods and lives of people. But no, this US military industrial media complex, they don't care so far as they make the money. Now, when we look at these two candidates, who is more in support of this US military industrial media complex? It is the Democrats. The Joe Biden, now Kamala Harris. They are in support of it. So a vote for Kamala Harris is actually a vote for more wars, not only in Ukraine, not only in Israel against the surrounding countries, but even in Africa. We saw what Democrats did when Obama was president, how they dismantled and destabilized Libya. They continue to do the same in Congo. But you see, when Donald Trump was president, there was relative peace in the world. So Africa, if you want peace, if you want a stop to the infiltration of terrorists with all their sophisticated weapons, you need to look away from the Democrats and look to Donald Trump. Yes. All this propagation of gender, LGBTQ, gay, where do you think it comes from? Who is more in support of it? In fact, a lot of the pushback that Donald Trump is getting from some Americans is because he is not pro-LGBTQ. And we are not saying that LGBTQ do not have a right. They have a right to do whatever they want according to the laws of their country. And of course, it's legal to do it within America. So nobody should disturb them. But at the same time, they should not disturb others. Everybody is entitled to the mode they want to choose to live their lives. But what you have is that, and this is another reason why Africans, and particularly Nigerians, must support Donald Trump. The current or recent push, the forcing of LGBTQ on Africans, on Nigerians, is because of the Democrats. The Samoa arrangement and all of those kind of arrangements, they are pushed by people who are frontline supporters of the Democratic Party. Now, is it all of them in the Democratic Party? Of course not. But you see, with the track record of somebody like Kamala Harris, somebody like Joe Biden, you can rest assured that if Kamala Harris gets voted in, what you will have will be more of such pressures on African countries, on Nigeria, to legalize and legitimize LGBTQ. So if not for anything at all, for Donald Trump, this is a reason for you to vote for Donald Trump. And if you know anybody who is in America who can vote, right now they are saying that anybody can vote. Can you imagine that? When here, people have ID card, they have driver's license, they have international passports, and just because they don't have voter's card, they cannot vote. I'm talking about Nigeria now. Now they have passed a law in several states, about 14 states in America, including California, very large population, very large voting population, that you don't need ID card to vote. You don't need ID card to vote. Can you imagine that? It's a lesson for our own INEC to learn, and it's a shame on our own political leaders. A very, very big shame. Now, because of these laws now, you don't require, so far as you are in America, you can walk to any polling unit and vote. So I want to implore you, all of you in America that are African American, Asian American, Spanish American, whatever, your best choice is Donald Trump. Because he will bring peace to the world. Right now, there's so much chaos. We have screamed our voices out, calling for Israel to show restraint. Israel has failed. We have screamed our voices out, calling on the terrorist organizations to show restraint, that the Israelis and the Americans are just taunting them. They're just baiting them. They won't hear. They won't hear. So right now what we need is a leadership in America that will stop all of this violence. And the best option is Donald Trump. It is Donald Trump. Whether you like it or... See, only people who are looking out for their own selfish interests and their pockets will continue with Democrats and a candidate like Kamala Harris in America. We have to look out for our own interests too. Which of the candidates will serve Africa best? Which of the candidates will serve Nigeria best? It is Donald Trump. Many people are saying that he will ban Nigerians or Africans from coming into America if he becomes president. I'm talking about Donald Trump now. Look, if he bans Nigeria, let him ban Africans. Let us sit in our country and develop our country. I said it now that the foundation for voter apathy, for rigging elections in Nigeria and indeed in Africa, is voter apathy. Guess what makes voter apathy to grow? Japa syndrome. Many Nigerians, many Africans, they are not thinking about anything else but how to japa. So when you're talking about participation in the electoral process, they are not interested. They are looking for how to japa. If they are not looking for how to japa, they are looking for how to get connection to the same corrupt politicians that have connived with the elite group of people in the US-led West to keep us enslaved. All that needs to change. All of us should stay in our country, in our continent, to develop ourselves. If we don't have the option to travel out, we will see that we have to bite the bullet and face and turn back and look at the storm in the eye. So wherever you look at it from, the best option for Africa is still Donald Trump. And I have to say, much respect for people like Elon Musk. We need them in Nigeria. In Nigeria, they won't speak truth because all our African businessmen, all our Nigerian businessmen, they are all dependent on government to get contracts. Every businessman you see in Nigeria today is dependent on government to get contract, to get money, starting with Dangote. Starting with Dangote. Many people make the mistake of thinking that Dangote refinery is a Nigerian refinery. I have said it before, and I will continue to say it. Dangote refinery, number one, is not owned by a Nigerian. A Nigerian is fronting, but it is not owned by a Nigerian. That's number one. Dangote refinery, number two, is not in Nigeria. The physical location may be Ibejuleki, but that place is a free trade zone area. It is operating majorly on international IMF and World Bank rules. ICSID, ISDS, BIT laws apply more to them than even the laws of Nigeria. Many people don't know it, but it is the truth. And many people made the mistake of saying that, oh, when Dangote refinery petrol comes online, that petrol prices will crash. How far? Have they crashed? Have they crashed? We need to begin to tell ourselves the truth. We're told here that from October 1, they will now start doing Naira for crude and all that. It is October 6 now. How far? Have they reduced the price? We were told here by propaganda that October 1, oh, Tinubu will reshuffle his cabinet and then fuel prices. In fact, some people said that he will halve the price of petrol. We are still waiting. So when people tell you these things, you need to take it with a pinch of salt. Really. And the reason for this is because Nigerian businesses, Aliko Dangote, just name it. Anyone that comes to your mind, name it. Which one? the TV stations, Femi Otedola, all of them, they are dependent on government. If you take away the corruption in the system, I swear to God, there will be no Dangote, there will be no Femi Otedola, there will be all these business, if the real business people will now come out. But you see, these people don't want it. So they will continue to support the government of the day that is allowing them such benefits. But not people like Elon Musk. These people speak truth to power. Because he realizes that one of the things that can guarantee free and fair and credible elections and can guarantee development, true development, is free speech. They are trying to take it away from what we see playing on all over the world, not just in America, and then even in Nigeria, and we must resist it. And the starting point starts with right now, before you start talking about political reforms, all right, or religious reforms, or traditional reforms, or entertainment reforms, or educational reforms, or sport reforms, or news reforms, before you start talking about all of those things, you need to understand now that the starting point has to be that foreign power that has the wherewithal to influence a wrong set of leaders on us in Nigeria. We need to look at that direction and choose a leadership in the America that will serve us better. All of you Nigerians in diaspora that are still supporting Democrats, you don't know what you're doing. No? Any of you that supports Kamala Harris, you are voting for interference in Nigeria's election in 2027. That is what you're doing. You think the rigging that took place in 2023 happened without the knowledge of Joe Biden? You think it happened without his knowledge? No, now. So if we want a free and fair election, our best bet is to look at who becomes president in America. All of you in diaspora, please, it's Donald Trump. Whatever you need to do, please do. Because that's the starting point. From there, we can now move on to other things like voter apathy, how we can get people out, how we can tackle their propaganda, how we can put measures in place to curb the excesses of INEC, of the judiciary, of the security agencies, the police, the DSS and co., even of thugs. Before we move on to that, we have to take care of this very, very important factor. Who becomes president of America? So many things are happening at the same time, and it is time for us to begin to pay attention.